Here's a recap of the latest tranche of support measures for households and businesses in Singapore. $300 worth of CDC vouchers will be given out next January. Eligible HDB households will also get more utility rebates, while lower-income Singaporeans will receive more ComCare support. For businesses, local firms will have an easier access to loans, with the government taking on a larger share of the lending risk. Eligible SMEs will also receive cash grants, while market and hawker centre stallholders will get rental support. And for more on how effective the measures will be in supporting businesses, we're joined by Kok Ping Soon, who is CEO of the Singapore Business Federation. Ping Soon, good to have you with us today.
Thank you.
Well, from your conversations with different businesses, what are their biggest pressure points at this juncture, and how far do you think these latest measures will go to alleviate that tension?
Well, I think businesses are facing mounting pressures across all fronts, and it's not just a single issue. The more immediate concern is indeed the rising costs, especially on freight, on energy, and on financing costs. And some companies are also worried about the decline in global demand, as well as the increased uncertainty because of geopolitical tensions. So if you look at it from that perspective, the package is more or less on mark. It recognizes that businesses need help for cash flow, as well as dealing with operating costs. Now, having said that, this package is not going to relieve pressure on all fronts, but it does provide some timely relief. And more importantly, I think it signals that the government is prepared to act as the situation evolves.
And part of that action as well is under the enterprise financing scheme for SMEs. Can you break down for us, why is there a focus on loan support? Some might say that how much of a difference could that loan support make to businesses who are already quite cautious about taking on more debt in this climate?
Well, I don't think the measures is about encouraging companies to take on debt. The measure is really in place to help viable companies to access financing. And that is very important. You talk about the construction sectors, right? I think one of the measures was to support some of the domestic construction projects. Now, construction projects are very project-based. It means that construction firms really need to mobilize capital for them to get capital, equipment, as well as workers before they get payment. So increasing the risk sharing allows these firms better access to financing so they can keep their projects going. And what's noteworthy, I think, is that the risk sharing also extends to domestic firms with overseas projects. It's a recognition by government that even in these uncertain times, firms that are prepared to expand overseas should also get some support. Having said that, I know enterprise financing has many schemes. Many SMEs are likely bewildered with the many schemes, which is why they can approach SPF. We have set up a Center for Enterprise Financing Advisory to help companies understand the scheme, assess their needs, and get them connected to financing partners.
Right. Now, among the SME schemes, we have the SME Cash Grant. That is offering about $500 per local employee, and it's also $2,500 capped for the SME itself. Now, for many firms that are also facing all the cost pressures that you mentioned, is that amount meaningful enough? And for companies listening in now, what is the best use of this fund?
Well, no businesses is going to tell you that $2,500 will solve all their problems. But in the same light, I think no businesses is going to turn away any help from government. The truth of the matter is for smaller firms, every dollar actually helps. And I think we should see it from that spirit. The good thing about this grant, I see it, is that it is automatic. Companies don't need to apply. It is modest, it provides some support. But what's also important is really that it is flexible. So companies can decide what they can use it for. They can use it to offset the wage costs, they can use it to lower their operating costs, or we hope they can use it for some productivity investment. So yes, the funding is modest, but it's flexible. But let's not forget that this funding support is on top of earlier announced measures, including the 50% of corporate income tax rebate of up to $40,000 per company.
Yeah. How likely do you think these costs might be actually passed down to consumers? There is a concern that if not enough of the business's needs are being taken care of, then consumers might have to suffer for it. Do you think that all of this is enough to help businesses tackle the issues they currently face?
As I've said, the support is quite modest. Whether the cost will eventually be passed on to consumers will depend on sectors and how volatile the situation is. We hope that it goes a certain way to elevate the pressure, but if the situation deteriorates, companies may well have to pass down the cost, and it really varies by sectors.
Yeah, if you were to break down which companies you think might benefit the most from this package, and also which sectors might potentially fall through the cracks despite the support.
I think undoubtedly the SMEs are the one that will be most substantively benefiting from these, especially those with tighter cash flows and limited buffers. Construction companies should welcome the extension of the risk sharing for financing. But on the flip side, I think there will be firms that will continue to be quite challenged, especially firms that are very heavily involved in international trade, where their supply chain is being affected by logistic costs, by supply chain disruptions, as well as energy costs. These firms will continue to face pressure, especially if the Middle East situation deteriorates.
Yeah. Well, apart from everything that we've spoken about, what kind of specific support measures are SBF actually looking at that you think might be very helpful for businesses at this point?
We have to monitoring the situation quite closely. If the situation deteriorates, we have 3 R's of the government. One, the continuous support in terms of working capital and financing needs so that companies can continue their operations. Number 2, we hope there'll be more targeted assistance on companies that are hit more badly and are exposed to higher freight costs, supply chain costs, and all that. So rather than a broad-based scheme that help all companies, let's take a more targeted approach. And third, we hope to have support to help companies preserve jobs and to continue to invest in productivity and transformation. The key thing really is to make sure that the support given by the government is timely, it is targeted, and is temporary. What we want are measures to help companies to innovate and to improve productivity. We don't want companies, to reach a certain stage where they become dependent on government assistance.
Ping Soon, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us. I've been chatting with Kok Ping Soon, who is CEO of the Singapore Business Federation.